There's a curious paradox that few people truly understand. The less you worry, the more life seems to fall into place. When you stop chasing desperately, when you release the tension, when you stop trying to control every tiny detail, somehow life begins to flow. Opportunities appear, connections deepen, answers show up. It's as if the universe had been waiting for you to stop resisting so it could finally cooperate. But why does this happen? Why does letting go hold so much power? Centuries ago, the philosopher Michel de Montaigne noticed this very pattern. He wasn't talking about spirituality, but about human nature. The harder we try to grip life, the more it slips through our fingers. And maybe, just maybe, what holds us back isn't life itself, but the way we try to control it. Worry is a subtle trap. It disguises itself as responsibility, as preparation, even as love. But most of the time, what it really does is trap us in a cycle of anxiety that sabotages everything we're trying to build. Think of a familiar situation. You want to impress someone on a date, in an interview, or even in a simple conversation. You start overthinking, weighing every word, correcting yourself, trying to appear confident, interesting, flawless. But the harder you try, the less natural you become. What the other person sees isn't confidence, it's tension, insecurity, and forced effort. And the very thing you wanted to attract slips away. This same pattern repeats itself everywhere. When you're desperate for money, it seems harder to get. When you cling to a relationship, the other person feels suffocated. When you obsess over the future, you lose the present. And the cruelest part is that the more you try to fix it by worrying, the more you feed the problem. It's like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. Montaigne realized what many of us ignore. The attempt to control everything is exactly what makes us lose control. Constant worrying pulls us out of the present, disconnects us from ourselves, and turns us into anxious, reactive versions of who we are. It's not the world that's against you, it's your mind, trapped in worry, creating obstacles that may not even exist. There's an underrated psychological principle called the law of reversed effort. It says that the harder you try to force something, the less likely it is to happen. It's like trying to fall asleep. The more you strain, the more awake you feel. The same is true for happiness. The more you chase it desperately, the more you notice its absence. This principle seems counterintuitive, but it makes perfect sense once you slow down and look closely. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means loosening the grip, releasing the obsession, and stopping the fight against the natural flow of life. When you stop forcing outcomes, something strange happens. The energy shifts. Instead of acting from fear, you act from confidence. Instead of trying to impress, you simply express yourself. Instead of chasing, you begin to attract. Letting go is not weakness, it's a deeper form of trust. Not passivity, but clarity. Montaigne understood this. He saw that those who suffered the most were the ones trying hardest to bend life into their rigid expectations. Ironically, those who relaxed and allowed life to unfold seemed to find what they were looking for, without so much effort. That's not magic, it's psychology. When you stop acting out of fear and start acting from presence, life responds differently. Montaigne, one of the clearest thinkers of his century, understood something we still forget. Most of our suffering doesn't come from events themselves, but from the way we resist them. He believed true freedom lies in accepting life's impermanence, not as defeat, but as practical wisdom. Life isn't supposed to be a battlefield we constantly try to control. It's a river we learn to flow with. This philosophy of non-resistance doesn't mean passivity. It means presence. It means acting with intention, but without clinging to outcomes. Doing your best without demanding that everything turn out exactly as you imagined. Montaigne saw that people suffered most when they fought against what already was, when they insisted this shouldn't be happening even though it clearly was. That emotional stubbornness was the very thing that deepened their pain. By contrast, he admired those who approached life with curiosity and lightness, people who didn't try to control every twist in the road, but trusted in their ability to adapt. To him, wisdom wasn't about mastering the external world, but cultivating inner peace. Non-resistance is an act of trust, and above all, a relief. When you stop fighting reality, you begin to notice its beauty. Think of a time when you wanted something badly, a relationship, a job, an answer. You obsessed over it, tried to control every detail, imagined every possible outcome, and the more you pushed, the farther away it seemed. Your energy was essentially saying, "I need this to be complete," and the world pulled back in response. Now think of the opposite, a moment when you simply let go. You stopped insisting, released the grip, and maybe focused on yourself instead. You rested, had fun, moved forward, and then, unexpectedly, what you wanted, or something even better, appeared effortlessly. Not because of force, but because you created space. When you release the future, the present becomes fertile ground. Some call it luck. Montaigne would call it wisdom. Life responds better to lightness than obsession. That doesn't mean you shouldn't desire, dream, or act. It simply means that after planting the seed, you have to trust it will grow in its own time, not dig it up every day to see if it's sprouting. These everyday miracles, when things happen as soon as you stop worrying so much, are not coincidences. They're the natural result of a mind that has stopped resisting and started allowing life to unfold. Most people aren't really afraid of life itself. They're afraid of uncertainty, of the unknown, of losing control. That's why we cling to routines, labels, beliefs, even when they no longer serve us. It feels easier to stay in an unhappy relationship than to face the emptiness of a new beginning. More comfortable to hold on to a suffocating job than to step into the unknown. Not because these choices are good, but because they're familiar. The mind craves predictability. But control is an illusion. Life was never fully controllable and never will be. Montaigne saw with striking clarity that we create much of our suffering by resisting uncertainty. It's not the future that hurts us, it's the attempt to force it into shape. In doing so, we become rigid, anxious, tired. We lose the lightness of simply living. Yet uncertainty is not an enemy. It's the fertile soil of creativity, discovery, and reinvention. Without it, we'd stay trapped in old versions of ourselves, repeating patterns out of fear. True power isn't in controlling what comes, it's in trusting your ability to respond to whatever does. When you replace fear of uncertainty with curiosity about it, everything changes.
At some point, there's a silent turning point, almost invisible, yet deeply transformative. It's when you stop fighting against life and begin to walk with it. When instead of resisting, you accept. Instead of controlling, you allow. Instead of worrying, you trust. And strangely enough, that's the moment things start to fall into place. Acceptance isn't resignation. Allowing isn't giving up. Trust isn't naivety. These are inner strengths. It takes courage to accept what you cannot change, maturity to let life unfold in its own time, and true confidence, not in a specific outcome, but in yourself, to stop forcing paths. The less you demand from reality, the more it surprises you. Look around. The people who seem to flow through life with ease aren't the ones with all the answers. They're the ones at peace with the questions. They don't wait for everything to be perfect. They move forward anyway. And because of that, they progress. That's when anxiety gives way to presence. When the weight of what if is replaced with the lightness of let's see. And in that state, you no longer have to chase life because life begins to come to you. Not because you quit, but because you finally trusted. When you stop worrying, something remarkable happens. Everything starts to align. Not magic, not luck, but the natural consequence of a mind that chose to let go of control and trust the flow of life. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning your dreams. It means releasing the fear and anxiety that strangle the path. It's an invitation to act with presence, courage, and acceptance, even when the future is uncertain. So ask yourself, what are you gripping so tightly that it's actually holding you back? What worries, fears, or expectations are you carrying like unnecessary weights? When you let life unfold, you create space for the unexpected and often better to appear. If this message resonates with you, reflect and share in the comments. When was a time you let go and everything started to flow? Your story may inspire someone else to find the same freedom. And if you want to keep walking this path of discovery, don't forget to subscribe for more. Remember, sometimes the key to living fully is simply to stop worrying and let life take its course.